Dith Bonnen, since it's MK's 75th anniversary, we've been looking through some of the old stuff ranging back to the 50s, and we found some interesting little bits here. And I've got Loveday here to tell us all about it. So Loveday, what can you tell us about this here?
Well, of course, I wasn't there in the 50s, but this is the first political activity by Mebyon Kernow in 1953 when Helena Charles stood for Cllr Loveday Urban District Council in St Day and got elected.
Good for her. And we've also got some badges here. This one says Kernow Kenza, Cornwall first.
Yeah, Kernow Kenza, using the Cornish was something which came about in the 70s, using much more Cornish and promoting the Cornish. And the link between language and political activity really came about in the 70s with campaigns like Putting Cornwall First, Kernow Kenza.
Before that, were the two sort of more separate?
Well, no, it wasn't separate. It just wasn't. A lot of the founder members of Mebyon Kernow in the 1950s were actively involved in Cornish language activity. In fact, they were part of Gwarioron Canoic, that they did a play in Cornish that they performed, or a couple of plays in Cornish that they performed in Cornish, in Cambourne and in Truro as well, I think. So
yeah, so Mebyon Kernow since
Mebyon
day
Kernow
one
has always had the language as part of its DNA, but Cornish language speakers using the language in a political way, I think, came about more in the 70s. With Kernow Kenza and Nerth Nucleic Navinaf, the next one, which is from the Cornwall Anti-Nuclear Alliance in the 70s, and that, you know, popular symbol at the time, found in lots of different languages, and it was felt important that the Cornish language was part of that as well. So obviously that's when people were occupying drilling rigs in Luxillian and things, and
can you tell us a bit more about
nuclear
that?
power. Well, I was away at the time; I wasn't there, but I did hear about it, and it did successfully stop any proposed nuclear power station in Cornwall, which I think was a good thing at the time.
Yeah.
You know, the whole sort of anti-nuclear CND, you know, that was all rising at the time as well. So, you know, a lot of people involved in active campaigns in the 70s, those sorts of things.
Yeah, and those sort of campaigns, particularly Luxillian, involve people actually occupying the sites.
Yeah, the people occupied the sites, and quite a few MK members that were part of that at the time, and people who visited as well. Some people had chained themselves to the various bits of equipment.
Hardcore.
Yeah.
And can you talk us through this?
Yeah, this is
badge? What does this say?
Ninju Maro Canoic, a fu. Cornish isn't dead, it lives. So that's interesting, because that's a Cornish language slogan for Cornish language activists, but it's also using the symbol of Cornwall and the flag of Cornwall, which again, you know, Mebyon Kernow promoted.
Yeah.
And is now seen as, you know, the main symbol of identity for the people of Cornwall.
Yeah. And lastly, do you want to talk us through this little book that we've got here?
Yeah, this is a reissued copy that was an extended copy that was produced in 2005 to celebrate 40 years of MK. It was produced in 50. Celebrate whatever. Sorry, I don't know that.
That's all right.
This was originally written in 1965, so it's 40 years since it was originally produced. It was written by my father and my mother, and it was really saying, Cornwall is different. Cornwall, you've forgotten about us. You've forgotten all the distinct history and identity and culture that there is in Cornwall. You need to know this.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, that was their first introduction to the fact that you know, they knew Cornwall was different in some way, but they didn't have any evidence or any facts to explain why. So this was an opportunity to explain why.
Yeah.
And at the back of this edition, there's a timeline from 1965 to 2000 and 5 of all the things that Mebyon Kernow and others have produced for Cornwall in that time. So, first parliamentary candidate 1970, Institute of Cornish Studies opened 1973, and the professor who took on that, Professor Charles Thomas, he was a founding member of Mebyon Kernow as well. And you know, we forget how much has happened in Cornwall since 1951 and since 1965. You know, Colin Lawrie was elected in 1982 to Cornwall Council and served for a long time on Cornwall Council, and various founder members became Grand Bard and Deputy Grand Bard and various things. I was only elected to council in 1995, so only 30 years ago. And 1997, Dick became party chairman of Mebyon Kernow, so he's probably the longest serving party leader in Britain.
Yeah,
it says something about that. So, yeah, Mebyon Kernow has done an awful lot, and you know, my mum and dad as founding members were instrumental in that. And growing up in the family, you know, I didn't think there was anything unusual about that. Yeah. But actually, if you look at it, you know, from outside, you think, well, hang on a minute. You had that opportunity to know you were Cornish, to know you had an identity, know you had a flag, know you had a language, and before a lot of my contemporaries did.
Yeah, I think people nowadays are only just beginning to sort of rediscover that identity, I suppose, and language. Yeah. Which has been good to see. Thanks for talking to us.
It's all right.
So, can we put it there?